2022 Honda CRF250R. I've had this bike a little over a month now. I've ridden it multiple times, a couple different times at motocross tracks. I've been riding it on some GP style stuff, some woods. Today we're going to do a long woods loop, and I'm trying to get a little more compliance out of the chassis. So I followed Kiefer's recommendations, dropped the torque on the rear axle, the swing arm, and then I also dropped the torque about 10 or 15% on these the engine mount to the frame bolts. See if we can get a little more give in the chassis. I've opened up the clickers on the forks and the shock. High speed made a lot of difference for me. I also slid the forks down. I saw Pingree like that in a recent test. But I haven't ridden on the long woods loop yet, so I thought it'd be fun to do that today. So let's give it a whirl. So after owning the bike now for a bit, I'm still super enamored with the handling and just the agility of it. It's probably the standout feature for me. It just feels light, and it is light, but it just feels exceptionally light in motion. Next up is the engine. I think this might be my favorite 250F engine because it's not as torquey as the Yamaha, but it has a lot more. It's just smoother. It still has enough low end, but it's just smoother in a way, and it kind of pulls broader and longer. And it's got a really good fueling. Well-refined maps. So it just is a playful bike. And also, I run it in map 3 just basically all the time, but it has just a free feel, hardly any engine braking. It just floats into the corners. So engine, it's just playful. It matches the chassis well. Yeah, I suppose it could have a little bit more low to mid and maybe a little more long pull on top, but I don't know, I think it works really good. It would be fun to try the Yoshimura full exhaust. Now, next up is the chassis. Well, obviously, Honda, all new chassis. It's identical to the 450, and it's definitely more compliant than the previous one. But back here in Ohio, where it's kind of soft in the morning and really hard pack and dry in the afternoon, choppy, I wish the chassis had a little more comfort. So the little modification of lowering the torque on the bolts made a noticeable difference. Still not where I ultimately want it to be, but it's for motocross. It's fine. Prep moto tracks, but I'm not always riding prep moto tracks. I love coming here in the woods and this kind of choppy, although this really isn't that bad, but I like being able to ride the bikes everywhere. Plus they're so fun. It's kind of fun to take them in different areas. So who knows, maybe there'll be some more engine mounts. Next up, I can take a few bolts out of those, drop the torque even more, see if we can get a little more compliance. Suspension for moto is really good. I think the forks are a tad just firm. They just build up. Spring rate's 4.8, which is, I think it's a lot for lightweight 250F. For fast big guys, it's fine. But I think I'd be better off with lighter, and my buddy Dave, who has a 250R Honda, he did take the fork springs down to 4.6s and lowered the oil height to 360. And get a little deflection on some of those roots under the leaves. And the softer spring rate was definitely an improvement. Now, I got another buddy who's got a 22 RX 250 coming, and those settings will probably work way better in the woods than here, but we'll see. Hopefully that bike will be here in the next week or so. We can take it for a ride. But one thing that's nice, the Ergos too, I guess the next topic is Ergos. To me, they feel perfect. I'm 6'2", and it's just thin, and the seat, the handlebar, the foot peg relationship is excellent. Just feels perfect for me, standing up or sitting down. Seat's a little thin and foam breaks down. I guess you got to give up something for that downdraft intake. That nice torquey engine. But it's kind of fun to play in the woods. It's kind of a bike that's just playful. Makes you want to go ride. And cornering and agility, lightweight feel, those are just fundamentals in a bike. You can dial suspension and even engine power, for that matter, but Honda got the fundamentals right on this bike, really right. Even standing up, it just feels really good. Weighting the bike through the foot pegs. The front brake is impressive. Strong and stoppy, where the rideability of the fuel mapping is really good. I kind of a little hyper on my throttle, but it just feels playful. Bike is fun to goof on. Even in the woods. And that newfound low to mid is very useful. 751. Anyhow, two big thumbs up. CRF250R, long woods loop.